I suppose we really need to start with 3,800 graduates last year receiving degrees. That's our record. That is a record. And what's really impressive about that, that's a 31% increase from just 5 years ago. 31% increase in the number of graduates. We've launched our new College of Innovation and Design. That's a college that we know will be able to build new prototypes for pathways to learning for our students and make them more employable and attractive in the job market. We've created a new school of public service, and we expect that school, and we know it will, really realize the mission of public affairs that was given to the university many years ago by the state board.
We've been ranked among the elite in many graduate, online, social work, education, and business programs. Our College of Education, for example, ranked in the top 100 nationally and number 3 in the Northwest, just behind the University of Washington and Oregon. And frankly, how about that? And as far as UW is concerned, I know in 9 days how we can get back at them. So, we have engaged in research that is record-breaking as well, and I'll give you a little more of the details, but research that engages our students, researches that really solves pressing and mysterious problems facing science and technology. We named our stadium with an old and revered Boise family name in a $12 million deal and a great partnership with Albertsons. We're really excited about that. We worked our way, and we learned this, by the way, through a dissertation writer who has done some research on the growth of graduate programs in comprehensive universities. And she came to us just a few weeks ago and she said, do you realize that you are in the top 5% of all universities across America, comprehensive universities, in the growth of your graduate programs in the last 10 years? We're very excited about that. Congratulations to Dean Jack Pelton, to all of the deans and the chairs who made that happen. We chatted in space with none other than an astronaut, and that astronaut happens to be here. Where's Steve Swanson? There, stand up, Steve. Steve Swanson is with us, and in a little bit, I'll tell you why he's with us, not just because we talked to him last year. It gets more exciting than that. We hosted the President of the United States. You know all that, but what a great quote. Here at Boise State, innovation is a culture that you're building. We're part of the national conversation, obviously, and if you don't believe me, all you need to do is read a journal like the Chronicle of Higher Education, the daily newspaper for higher ed. And what they said earlier this year, Boise State is demonstrably on the move. And the Fresno Bee, which was trying to figure out what happened to their university versus our university, said Boise State has gone big time, and not just in athletics. Speaking of athletics, however, we've set some new bars on and off the field. We won our third Fiesta Bowl. You know all about that. We're the only school in the nation to win regular season conference titles last year in football and basketball, men's and women's. And we joined a number of academically revered universities in posting some of the country's highest academic progress rates, including 10 of our teams who scored the perfect measure of 1,000. I mean, that's the highest you can get. Now, that's the football team, but next you're going to see the gymnastics team. That's a great photo, by the way. Whoever put that together deserves a lot of credit. These young ladies not only competed and won their conference title, but they scored the third highest team GPA, grade point average, breaking all previous Boise State records on their way to winning that 2015 Mountain Rim Gymnastics Conference. That is an incredible achievement, and I'll tell you, the academic achievement over there in the athletic program ranges far beyond this gymnastics program, but that is a national record right there. As we reflect on the amazing third Fiesta Bowl, yes, go right ahead. As we've reflected on the amazing third Fiesta Bowl, I knew that enormous changes had taken place before or between the first and the third. So our state board, which meets here every February, I thought, we really ought to prepare something for them that shows them what's happened to Boise State University since the Oklahoma game and what progress we've made across this university. And there you see the progress. Enrollment up 18%, number of degrees up 52%, research grants up 39%, donors up 131%. Boy, is that ever important in an era when we can't count on the kind of state support we used to. That's very exciting. These very high-profile moments would not have become Boise State's story without the incredible work that has transformed the university. And again, I said I was going to mention this earlier, but let's talk about research for a minute. We received more than $40 million in research grants and awards in a single year for the first time in school history, another incredible milestone in becoming a leader in developing Idaho's economy. Congratulations to our faculty, our researchers, Mark Rudin, who directs the research operation. We've also taken seriously our goal to align our university programs with workforce needs, working not just with long-standing transformative partners like Micron, but also working with new partners. And this time next year, if you go down to the center of downtown, you'll see that our newest partner is in a building that will be shared with the Boise State Department of Computer Science. It'll be Clearwater Analytics, and we'll be working together in the same building. Our students will be close to internships they'll be doing. Our faculty will be close to research partnerships they're going to be doing with the software engineering community. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 25 software engineering firms are within, 3 to 5 blocks of that new building. And that's very exciting, and I'd like to thank Tim Anderson and his entire department for their willingness to take this risk, to pick up an entire department on campus and move it downtown, closer to where the action is, you might say, closest to where the research is, closest to where our students can work on those internships. And we've created a campus environment that takes the best of what we know works well on traditional campuses, and we've really supercharged it with what a beautiful place we live, these unique attributes. How many campuses across America can you find with a river right beside it and the foothills up above? Let me just tell you about one university program that puts all of that together, most importantly, with incredible staff, just really talented people who have made our program one of the best in the nation, and that's our orientation program. Again, I know many of you are away over the summer, but for those of us who hang around this campus, there's parents and students coming in and off the campus all summer long to attend these orientation programs. Just a few years ago, that orientation program was virtually non-existent. I've had a chance to attend a couple of the sessions this summer, and I'm telling you, it is impressive to listen to these parents and students come away and talk about what it's like and compare it to other experiences they might have had with some of their other children. Over and over again, we hear comments like, "You really knocked it out of the park. I didn't really know what to expect, but it was so much more than I thought. Everything parents and students needed to know was included. I feel 100% confident in sending my daughter to school at your institution. I was so impressed with everyone we met." Well, needless to say, I really appreciate the work that our folks do during orientation, but recruitment is an all-year-long process. And it becomes more and more important every year here at Boise State as we have to make sure that we not only bring new students and additional students here to Boise State, but that we bring a mix of in-state and out-of-state students to Boise State. Those non-residents help pay the bills. And it's very important that we remain very attractive in places like Seattle and Portland in the Bay Area and Southern California. So last April, many of you participated in Bronco Day. Now, once upon a time, that was nothing more than the spring football game, until the assistant athletic director for football, Brad Lorando, approached us and said, "What if we combined the spring football game with a major Bronco Day that was really inviting students from all over Idaho and beyond to come and see who we are, talk to faculty, meet with deans and chairs, learn more about the university. Well, we pulled it off. You pulled it off. You did a great job. That is now a tradition here at Boise State. It's going to get bigger and bigger. We're really excited about the fact that it's worked so well for us. In fact, the admissions office, as we speak, is working with some of our faculty to establish a more official role for them in traveling occasionally to events where we're showcasing Boise State University. There's no better way to showcase this university than to bring one of our faculty members with us and have them tell the story. And at the same time, to have some of our alumni there to validate that story. That's what's going on these days in the admissions office. It's what's going on in student affairs, and we feel very good about that. Meanwhile, we have had a 50% increase in applications for our honors college students. Our honors college has really taken off under the leadership of Dr. Andrew Finstuen. I can't say enough about that. We're going to have a record enrollment this year of 600, assuring that the very best of Idaho students can excel here at home, which of course also raises the bar for excellence in classrooms and across the campus. I don't know whether any of you saw Frank Bruni's op-ed piece in the New York Times, but basically he highlighted the work of honors colleges in public universities and said, for all of you who think you have to send your student to some selective private college that's going to cost 5 times as much as a public university, you need to take a look at what these honors colleges are doing across the country. And boy, he could start right here at Boise State, because you will see that it won't be too long. 2 years from right now, we'll have students entering the new Boise State Honors College, thanks to the state board just last week approving our $40 million home for that college, and it's going to be centered right across the street from the sub. There isn't anybody visiting the Boise State University campus who will not know and understand the importance we place on the highest academic quality for all of our students. That will house honors college students. It will house students who are not in the honors college. It will have dining options. It's going to have residences with classrooms and social space. It's going to be a living and learning community that's going to be the nicest you can find anywhere, and we're very proud of the fact that the board was with us on that. Thank you to the Idaho State Board of Education for their support. And world-class students aren't the only top-notch individuals that we're attracting to Boise State. We have 55 new faculty members. They come from all over. Those are the schools they're coming from this year. And would they all please stand, if we can get the lights up, so we can see who you are, and let's welcome them to Boise State University, our new faculty. Thank you. Now, that's a long list, but I do want to take a moment to just tell you about a few of them. Dr. Paul Simons is joining us. He's an assistant professor of physics, comes to us from UCLA, where he ran the Integrated Nanomaterials Laboratory. NASA astronaut Steve Swanson, who I asked to stand a moment ago, the reason he's here today is that he's now one of our own. He's a professor of the practice, and he's going to increase his role on campus and with our students as a distinguished educator in residence beginning this fall. That gives us, along with Barbara Morgan, 2 astronauts on board. Not a bad deal. So congratulations to them. Dennis Johnson won the National Book Award for his book Tree Smoke in 2007. He's one of this country's noted novelists. He joins us this year as a distinguished writer in residence in our outstanding MFA program, Masters in Fine Arts and Creative Writing. We are really looking forward to Dennis Johnson joining us. I started reading that book last night, by the way, and it's 702 pages long, and I'm trying to read it before I meet him. I think I'm going to flunk that test. But Anyway, it's a great read. Gordon Jones is here. I mentioned the College of Innovation and Design. The former director of the Harvard Innovation Lab is joining us as the director or the dean of the College of Innovation and Design. Jack Marr, who was the NYU Stern School of Business in Shanghai. He started it, basically. He got the NYU School of Business going over in Shanghai. He's lived in the Far East for 20 years. He and his wife have moved here to Boise. We're going to utilize his expertise in international trade, his Pacific Rim experience. And for those who think Jack is all about business, speaking of National Book Award winners, Jack's undergraduate degree was English, where he was mentored by none other than Richard Powers, also a National Book Award winner, wrote a book called The Echo Maker that made that achievement. So congratulations to Jack for joining us as well. Former San Francisco University professor Corey Cook comes aboard with degrees from Berkeley, the University of Wisconsin. He is our new dean of the School of Public Service. We had an event the other night at the Frank Church Institute. Corey had a chance to speak at a retreat they had, knocked it out of the park. He has a vision for the School of Public Service that we can all be proud. You'll be learning more about that in the weeks and months to come. I'd be remiss if I didn't tip my hat to Shelton Woods, wherever you are. Shelton, stand if you're here. Shelton travels a lot, writes a lot, and who knows where he is at this moment. But he was the guy who served as the interim dean of SSPA. He did a great job of working with the faculty. That was a transitioning process. Some departments went over to the College of Arts and Science, thanks to Tony Rourke for pulling that off. Really appreciate his work on that. Thanks to Greg Hill and Scott Yenner and their department, their fellow colleagues in political science. It was Greg and Scott who first came to me and Marty and said, "We need a School of Public Service. Can we talk?" Well, they did the heavy lifting, and today it's a reality, and we have Corey Cook to take the lead. While we're talking about colleagues who make a difference, I want to take a moment to thank and recognize someone who's made a tremendous difference in Boise State's transformation to date, and he certainly made a major difference in my life. He was the very first person I met from Boise, the very first person I met from Idaho. And so back when I was sitting on the campus of the University of Minnesota, wondering whether Boise, Idaho was a good place to live and work, and whether Boise State University was the place to come, I had to gauge all of that through the demeanor and the style and the class of Rod Lewis. Rod Lewis, for the last 15 years, has served as a member of the Idaho State Board of Education. He's here today with his wife, Charlotte. I cannot tell you how many times we have leaned on Rod for counsel. He has championed the vision for Boise State with the board, even in the darkest days when some members of that board really didn't get that vision. He has been a key player in the success and transformation we've seen over the last 12 years at Boise State. And he did it all while serving as legal counsel for Micron Technology. He's since retired, but I remember those years tracking Rod down. You never knew whether you were talking to him from Coeur d'Alene or Singapore. But he was always there for Boise State, and I just can't tell you what an important role he played in these last years as we have talked about all these incredible achievements. It's neat to see Rod and Charlotte together because, of course, Charlotte missed some of those trips to all those wonderful sites across Idaho, and therefore they're together again in Rod's retirement. But Rod, would you and Charlotte please stand so we can thank you and recognize you for your service and work to Boise State. I see that they're seated next to someone I know really well, Kathy Kustra. You know, I can remember when I was thinking about giving up on the PhD, and my mother said, "You stay in there, you hang in there, they'll never be able to take it away from you." And she was right about that, and thanks, Mom, that makes all the difference. But she also said, if you're ever going to use it to be a university president, why don't you marry a speech major? Marry somebody who can help you out when you have to give those speeches every year at fall addresses like this. And you know what? I followed her advice right to the T. Kathy, the speech and communications major, plays so much of a role in turning random thoughts into organized speeches, and what she calls speechify the way you talk or the way you write. So thanks, Kath, for all of your support over the years. She's the #1 volunteer around here, in case you haven't noticed. Rod and his fellow board members have challenged us in so many ways in these last years to serve our students and the citizens of Idaho better than we've ever done before by well-balanced offerings and programs. For Boise State, this means an increased emphasis on STEM programs. And here's why there has been an increase in emphasis on STEM programs. Not long after President Obama was elected, he kicked off a national campaign to increase the number of students graduating college or university in STEM fields. In Boise, with its tech economy, that seemed a goal worth pursuing. So by 2011, we checked to see how Boise State fared when compared to the national average, which was about 15 to 16% of STEM graduates moving through a university, the average American university. We were at 11%. We were clearly below the national average. We were clearly below our sister institutions across Idaho. Our provost set a goal of reaching 15% in 5 years, and I am delighted to report today we've reached our goal 2 years ahead of Marty's plan. We now have the programming in place to play our role in this national effort to increase STEM production. I'm going to show you a pie chart that is a distribution of our disciplines across the university. And I really think it's important to focus on this because somehow, with this added emphasis on STEM over recent years, I think there's a misunderstanding that somehow we have this enormous percentage of students or faculty all focused only on STEM. Take a look at those percentages. Even with our national average number today, and as far as I'm concerned, that's a good number we can stay there. We don't have to try to shoot for the moon here. That's a good place to be. But look at the balance across the way. Look at the larger increases. Look at the larger percentages, I should say, in the other colleges and disciplines. So I don't think anyone can say that we've done nothing but catch up. And that's exactly what we should have done, and I certainly am proud of all of those who played a role there. So what's the next challenge? What comes next? What's the crisis is probably too strong of a word, but what do we need to do to really make our students the very best educated in this country? Well, one of the things we need to do is recognize that any university must embrace the critical, historical, and contextual thinking the liberal arts provides our future citizens. At the same time, however, it must also recognize the challenges that graduates are facing in the workforce, in those first job interviews, trying to explain who they are and what they've studied, and whether or not that works for the marketplace today. That's the reason why we're launching Phase 1 of Bridge to Career. Bridge to Career, thanks to Dean Ken Peterson getting this thing kicked off, Bridge to Career is a series of online courses designed to give non-business majors the kind of know-how and understanding to give them a leg up when competing for jobs. And when talking about Bridge to Career, it's not a one-way street. It's not just about educating liberal arts students who may be lacking in technical or business skills. Phase 2 of Bridge to Career will offer a variety of courses for STEM-like students who may need additional training in communications, team building, accounting, marketing, leadership training, to give them important competencies in their chosen careers. Now, no matter how much we try to adapt our offerings to reflect workforce needs, I've been in higher education long enough to see trends, where one week it's a trend over here, the next week it's a trend over there. Last year, you couldn't pick up a news story about employment opportunities without reading about the importance of a STEM degree. Just a few weeks ago, however, check that headline out. Forbes magazine runs this article, it's basically an article, but the headline is very clear that useless liberal arts degree has become tech's hottest ticket. And just recently there was a major report of liberal arts graduates signing up for coding classes so they have the extra edge in that first job interview, in the tech area anyway. Now, I understand there are some among you who may not appreciate what you think is our preoccupation with job skills and requirements. What happened to those good old days, and this is the way it was when I graduated from school, when folks understood and appreciated the intrinsic value of my liberal arts degree and the learned status it conferred upon those of us who thought we were learned at that time, when we didn't place as much emphasis on aligning what we were learning to our first job or our second job or our career or profession. I mean, those that were in pre-law did, and those who were in pre-med did, that's obvious. But the rest of us were coasting along, enjoying the experience. And our faculty really wasn't focused on it, where I come from anyway. And so it was really all about getting to senior year and visiting the career center and finding out if you're qualified for this job or that job. That doesn't work anymore. That doesn't work at all. And there's one thing that's changed, that's caused us all to rethink the way we perhaps passed on this issue of relating our education to job skills and requirements. There's a new normal operating in the lives of our students, and it's called student debt. Student debt. The average student debt here at Boise State is somewhere around $27,000. Now, tuition has risen at state universities especially because of the cutback in state funding. And we have participated in some of those tuition increases. Frankly, without those tuition increases, I'd be out of here in about 10 minutes because there wouldn't be half the things to say that we're talking about today in terms of extraordinary achievements by faculty and staff and students. But back to the debt load, even the Federal Reserve has reported recently that the student debt load has caused home buying among young buyers to drop off. Again, students are really conflicted having to deal with this debt. And with the exception of our financial aid office, I just don't think on a daily basis we walk around this campus thinking about what some student graduating at Boise State is going to be left with as a result of this experience. So if we're to preserve certain majors and departments known today for poor transition to the workforce, then we better get to work on augmenting the major with training and education that helps our students find gainful employment to deal with those debt loads. If we're to survive and thrive, we must adapt to trends in educational needs, and we must provide value to our students. Now, I get paid to learn what's going on around here, and I'm supposed to know what's going on around here. But what's amazing about this job is that no matter how often I try to keep up with what you are doing to add value to a student's undergraduate experience here, I miss it. And I think this is that moment where we need to let you know there is a very long list of achievements that are in your bailiwick. You made it happen. And take a look at the way I look at it. So, David Letterman may have retired, but his top 10 did not. So what's number 10? Nearly half of Idaho Business Review's accomplished under 40 honorees this year were Boise State graduates. Boise State just completed the largest summer enrollment ever, with 9,000 students enrolled in classes. 40% of those were online. Mark Wheeler in the College of Extended Studies did yeoman's work. The Talkin' Broncos argued their way to a third straight national title. That's number 8. Number 7, Engineering Dean Amy Mall, selected as one of 2015's Inspiring Women in STEM Awards by Insight into Diversity magazine. Give her a hand. This publication is one of the nation's leading voices on diversity issues in higher ed, and Dean Mall will be honored in a special issue of the magazine slated out this week. Number 6, political scientist Justin Vaughn received national attention for a paper he co-authored on presidential greatness, and he worked with the New York Times for an internationally read and debated look at the best and worst post-American presidencies. It was great work, Justin. Number 5, our online educational technology graduate program grows to what we believe is the largest in the world, almost entirely with out-of-state students. This year, to boost educational abilities around Idaho, they are launching a $1,000 scholarship to any Idaho teacher who begins the program. Number 4, Boise State University will be Idaho's host for the rare Shakespeare First Folio. The folio is touring to just one place in each state. Thanks to the Albertsons library staff for landing this opportunity for us. When it arrives next year, the library will install a display at the Arts and Humanities Institute at the Yankee Research Center for ease of access by the public. Number 3, Scott Willison and Greg Martinez were awarded a 5-year federal grant worth $1.1 million to continue their work helping first-generation and low-income students become teachers. Number 2, Masters in Social Work program named number 1 in the nation by graduateprograms.com. How about that? And we have in the number 1 spot, Jane Chu, chair of the National Endowment for the Arts, recently visited Boise State to hear about Leslie Durham and Amanda Ashley's research on universities as cultural anchors in the Intermountain West. They reinforced the idea that arts programs are producing people who become major players in a community, and Boise was their research, and we're really proud of the work they've done. And even though they got number 1, those are all very, very great accomplishments. And what a great segue, speaking of the value of the arts, to this next priority. We're going to talk a little bit about buildings. Our main priority is the Center for Fine Arts. The Center for Fine Arts, we were pleased to report that the legislature has given us $2.5 million this year. We think there'll be another $2.5 million next year. This is going to be the state's premier arts building and become a cultural hub here in our metropolitan home. Is that a cool, I mean, that looks like it's right from Steve Swanson's space. That's really neat. We're very excited about that. Now, if there's any, let's not call it bad news, but sobering news, it's the fact that it's tough raising money for the arts. And so we're really working hard, but we still have some work to do in raising the funds for this, and we're going to pass a hat out later and see if you can help us with that, by the way. But anyway, the center, and the Gale Severns Gallery in Sun Valley next month will host Boise State. And I don't know whether you've ever seen the Gale Severns Gallery, but that's a really big deal. And Gale serves on the committee that has been designing and working on this project. And she opened up her gallery for a Boise State reception. So we're really looking forward to meeting our friends from Sun Valley and their checkbooks. So the Center for Materials Science Research is also going to be at the other end of the campus, the east end of the campus. And I can't say too much about this project, but stay tuned because it's something you're going to be hearing about in about, 2 to 3 months. The Albertson Library. It's going to morph in front of your eyes. First of all, the College of Innovation and Design will be housed inside the Albertson Library, and its new degree, Gaming, Interactive Media, and Mobile Program, will be in that building, is in the library as well. Kudos to Dean Tracy Bicknell Holmes for her work in fostering a hands-on learning environment in our library by opening up a maker lab complete with 3D printing and other technology. So Tracy's right with it when it comes to where a library ought to be in this tech world we have. Stop in and see that one of these days whenever it's completed. The Alumni and Friends Center is going to be across from the stadium. Thanks to Alan and Dixie Dykeman, you can see it's under construction. Were it not for the Dykemans, that simply wouldn't be happening, and we wouldn't have a place to invite our alumni and our graduates to come and share the sisterhood and brotherhood of being Boise State graduates. If I can talk about inside the classroom for a moment and I guess get a little bit more serious. You know, I try to read as much as I can about what the critics are saying about us. And Kevin Carey, who is a member of the New America Foundation, writes op-ed pieces. He's just written a book called The End of College. He's written recently about the fact that no matter how many new colleges you launch, how many world-renowned experts and faculty you attract, how many research dollars you spend, you're still not successful if you're not a coherent academic enterprise with consistent standards of classroom excellence. According to Carey, depressingly, he finds there are too few universities who would qualify for that description. Now again, I don't know what his research is like and whether or not we could all agree that he's right, but he does say it is all but impossible to know ahead of time which part of the disunified university is which. Well, obviously, we brand the university as a whole, but it is largely one of the most decentralized organizations in the Western world. It's in its most important product, the delivery of an education. Its quality, its methods, its focus, more and more are done at the department level, at the unit level, within the classroom. And it's intrinsic to our system, to the extreme variation in the requirements and style of academic fields of study, and to the concept of shared governance. So it only stands to reason that it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge for universities, as opposed to, let's say, the private sector out there, to control the issue of quality. And yet I think we can all agree, we can't afford, now more than ever, any variance in the goal of exacting the highest level of quality across all colleges, departments, or units. That should and must be the standard of every department chair, and indeed of each one of us in our daily efforts. Carey pulls out an old saying, an old saw that some of you may remember, that universities are a series of individual faculty entrepreneurs held together over a common grievance for parking. You know? Well, hey, there's some truth to that, folks, at least on the parking side. But there's also truth to the fact that we have a lot of individual faculty entrepreneurs. And I know in my days of teaching, it wasn't always the case of taking all the direction from someplace else. So, as we innovate and as we adapt, we must hold ourselves to the highest level of scrutiny. And I have an example that I think shows how we must always be on guard to make sure that what we're offering, whether it's in departments or whether it's in other areas, meets the standards that we believe in. We knew a few years ago that it was time to reorganize our Common Core General Studies curriculum. Faculty really jumped in and organized what we now call the Foundational Studies program. One of the impetuses for that was the fact that we had so many of these employers telling us that we had to focus on the soft skills of communications, critical thinking, teamwork, creativity, that we knew were so important for our college graduates. So we significantly revamped what was then the Common Core. And while we know that there's a really good number of foundational studies courses meeting those objectives, I've heard too many concerns, complaints, and questions or criticisms, especially from parents and students, about the foundational studies. They've suggested that in trying to deal with the soft issues, we went too soft, if you will, providing more style than substance. This is why I've asked Provost Schimpf to work with the Faculty Senate to explore the criticisms and the outcomes of this vital program, and if it needs refocusing or fixing, then let's fix it. My own take on it, the Foundational Studies program has so many moving parts that we simply haven't arrived at a level of academic quality consistency that works across the board. And that's something we definitely must address. Now, whether it's foundational studies, the College of Innovation and Design, the new School of Public Service, these are big ideas. They're capable of differentiating Boise State in quality, not in style. Last spring, when we met as administrative council, I asked the deans to look within their colleges for the next big idea. What will differentiate Boise State and the student experience from our peers? What are the big problems our society faces, and how can we as a campus prepare our students to address these issues? One important idea relates to the health and fitness of our staff, faculty, and students. Dean Tim Dunnigan of the College of Health Sciences and his team proposed a program to help all of us become and stay healthy. Now, I don't know whether we're all going to be on the floor of the football stadium doing yoga, but I do know that Dean Dunnigan has a big idea, and I'd like him to share that with us today.
Good morning. I kind of like, what do you think about the idea of getting the deans out on the blue doing yoga? Would that be something we'd like to see? We'll see what we can do about that. As President Kustra said, he asked the deans for a big idea, and this idea actually came from University Health Service, the staff and leadership there. And here's what it is in a nutshell. I want you to do a little visualization and think about a student that has graduated from Boise State, and they've gone 40 years down the road and they're ready to retire. And they're looking back at their time here at Boise State. What are they thinking about? Now, when I talk to students, one of the things I always see, and there's a lot of energy behind this, and they clench a fist, which is a little concerning sometimes, but they say, I got a great education. What the idea is, that's called Bronco Fit, deals about the health of a community. And what we could do is to have this student that says, I had a great education, but also because of my time at Boise State, I was able to improve my health, the health of my family, my friends, and my community. And that creates a very different experience for students who come to the university. So we have a great opportunity here to be able to engage in this. One of the ways that we can engage in developing a healthy community is that we have a captive audience. Think about students. They come to campus. They'll spend on average each year about 1,200 to 1,300 hours on campus. If they live on campus, it's 6,000 hours. I don't need to tell you all this, but most of your waking hours during the week are here on campus. Now, granted, you have a few other things going on, but this is a great opportunity to look at engaging in health and well-being. And one of the things that we can do, because we're a university, that makes us distinctive from other places is we have a way to measure this. It's one thing to go out and say we're going to be the healthiest campus in America. It's another thing to do the measurement along the way, to make the adjustments, and to actually be able to tell a student or an employee that they have made progress with this. And as an organization, we become a healthier community. So what I want to share are two ways that you can participate. One that's very important is for you to personally engage in this process. One of the things that we're going to be starting this year for faculty and staff is a health screening. And it's a way for you to get kind of a foundation of where you are with your health. It'll be offered at no cost throughout the year in a variety of buildings at the university. So this is a way that you can kind of take note of where you are and then engage in some of the things that might improve your health and wellness. With the wellness programming being in the College of Health Sciences, we're also going to be able to offer a variety of programs, and you'll be seeing those coming out all year. The other way is kind of interesting, and that's to engage professionally. And what I mean by that, this big idea that Dr. Kustra is talking about relates to a lot of social ills. And one of the things that's really exciting about this is that health for ourselves, well-being for those that we work with in our community is something that we can all agree upon. So the way that we can go into trying to address this problem is to go ahead and have the program opened up to everyone at the university. And what I mean by that is that in addition to it being a health program, we need to work with business, and we've already started doing that and creating a business model for this. We need to look at how we generate policy for these programs, and we need to work with faculty and students in the areas of policy. One of the big drivers of health is technology. Most of the health stuff that you're going to be doing anymore, wrong pocket, is going to come through this, okay? It's going to be a portal through here that we can look at ways that we develop apps, that we send communication to help make people make decisions, the way that we Skype in with our providers. We're going to be looking at different ways that we do the entire health experience within our university health service, what that patient experience looks like. So the expertise to do a big problem like this, to be able to solve it, comes from the entire university and the community. So one of the things we're doing in opening this up is to have a meeting that we're going to put in place for anyone that's interested. And I really want you to encourage you to be able to bring students in, bring your ideas and research, and we'll have a number of ways that you can engage in this process. If there's any place that can pull this out, it's Boise State. With the way that we work across colleges, our close connections with the university community can make this happen. This is a nut that people have been trying to crack for decades, population health, and I think it's something that we can do here. It's something we can all agree upon, that it's important to us, that's meaningful, and something we can rally around. And one of the benefits we all get is we're healthier, our community's healthier, the students are healthier. So I hope you'll join. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tim. Bronco Fit. Bronco Fit. Let's start right now. Jumping jacks, 50. All right. We really expect everybody to be on board. So every time we do one of these, this is the end, by the way, in case you're wondering. Getting sore. Every time we do one of these, I talk somewhere in the speech about the aggregate data of who our students are. And over the years, they've been getting better, and we give you GPA increases and things like that. Today, I want to get a little bit more personal and talk about some real students, some individuals who are coming to join us as first-year students. Give you an idea of the incredible quality. But before I go there, I want to show you a slide that gives you an idea of what's happened with the Keith Stein Blue Thunder Marching Band. I remember when we beat Oklahoma, and before we beat Oklahoma, I had to go out onto the field and get mixed up with what seemed like the Fifth Army. It was really the size of the Oklahoma's marching band, okay? But it was the size of the Fifth Army. And our band was so much smaller in those days. Well, we've fixed that, or we're in the process of fixing it. Look at today, 72 members from 20 states. And in 2011, obviously, it wasn't quite the same. Those students, by the way, who are now coming to us in the marching band, they have higher GPAs. They have better test scores. So we're really, even here with the Blue Thunder Marching Band, you can see the progress we're making. Let's talk about some of these students, and then we'll get out of here, go to lunch. Jordan McAllister's joining us. She's a valedictorian of Graham Kapowsin High School in Bethel, Washington. She plans to major in biology before going to medical school to become a cardiologist. Spokane native Mia Sanchez overcame what she calls a bad decision that got her suspended as a high school freshman. We don't want to know that story. And she graduated with a 4.0 as valedictorian and senior class president at Rogers High School. Lakeside High School salutatorian Brooke Chick from Plummer, Idaho. She comes to us not just a high school graduate, she earned her associate's degree at the same time through North Idaho College. Leslie Feen from a small town in Nebraska where Amy Mall spent some time as a kid. Leslie's father passed away the summer before her senior year, so she organized a series of blood drives in her hometown in his memory while she worked on her plan to attend Boise State and major in international business. Lillian Cates, student body president at Star Prep Academy, a school for the gifted and talented in Los Angeles. She won high school awards in math, music, foreign language, history, citizenship. She tutors elementary age students. She volunteers at church. She teaches mixed martial arts. And she performed as a musician at some of the coolest venues in LA, including the Blues Bar, the Avalon, all the places you've heard about. She'll be here in this room in the convocation on Friday when we fill this place up again. Elena Paz Munoz, senior class president and valedictorian from her high school in Honduras. Captain of the soccer team, studied abroad in Germany for a year, fluent in English, Spanish, and German. As a volunteer, translated for visiting dentists to help explain procedures and care for children. 3-time National Spelling Bee winner. Gregory Wisher, graduating at the top of his class in Grand Forks, North Dakota. President of his chapter of the National Honor Society. Volunteer for the Salvation Army, the Special Olympics, his church, his local senior center. Multiple state championships in tennis, and winner of sportsmanship awards for his demeanor on and off the court. This is just incredible. Henry Schaefer Coffey, a lot closer to home. Captain of the Boise High School swim team. Editor of the school newspaper. National Honor Society. Debate team. Volunteers at the YMCA and the Cabin. Active in a lot of clubs. Perhaps most impressively, helped create a classic book seminar that is run regularly for 3 years at Boise High School, introducing students to authors like Steinbeck, Vonnegut, and more. What an outstanding local product and success story. News of this talent really just energizes me, and I know it does you as well. It should challenge all of us to bring our best game to the 2015 semester. For those of us who call higher education our chosen career, we've been given a heady responsibility to reach into an unknown future by touching the lives of those we meet in the classroom and across the campus this year. We help shape their destinies and the fate of our nation and planet in a way few on this earth have a chance to do. On with the challenge. Thank you all you do for Boise State University. Lunch is served in the quad. Thanks so much. Have a great year.